Okay, y'all, so welcome back. So we left off and we were saving it on page 27, and so we are working on our world right now. So I'm just hit escape to get out of that. Okay, so go to the world editor, and it kind of looks like a little world right here. It says, click on the horizon color swatch. All right, so this is my horizon, and I am going to turn 0 all the way down, red down to 0, green all the way down to 0, and blue we want to be 0.821. All right, so that'll be forming a blue horizon color. We want the zenith. The zenith is right beside it, and we want those to all be 1s. We want a nice white color. All right, and then let's see. Check mark the blend sky. So blend sky is right here. Ooh, that gives a nice, really blended color. And then they want us to render the scene. Okay, yeah, that's what it looks like. All right, yep, it matches their picture. Save your Blender file. I just did, but you know what? You can never have too many files when it comes to Blender because sometimes it might make a mistake. So I'm going to save it for 30. All right. All right, so we're going to add some material. So let's escape out of this and press the new button. We want to select arm object. Gosh, it took me forever to find it. Arm object. Okay, so there's my arm. We're going to the materials editor. I need to stretch this out just a little bit so I can see it. Okay, so there's my materials. I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to call this the arm material. Remember, anytime you want to add a texture, a picture of some sort to it, you need first your materials, and then once you have a material, then you can make a texture on that material. All right, so now we're going to go to the texture part of it, and we are going to name this mahogany. So we got to click on new and double click mahogany. We probably could just name it arm too. So now we're going to go to image or movie. And then, depending on where yours is located, I have ours located on the X drive under Animation, Resources, Blender Resources, Globe, and we're looking for mahogany. All right. They do tell us to do a little bit of changing some settings here. So on the image mapping panel, so I'm looking for image mapping. Here's image mapping. I want my X and Y repeats to both be 2. Okay, we're going to flip the XY axis under sampling. So image sampling, we're going to flip to XY. And under the mapping, we're going to change that from flat to cube. All right, go back to the materials editor, it says. Whoops, materials editor. They want us to, under the specular panel, here's my specular. They want us to set the intensity all the way up to 1 and set the hardness to 292. All right, so that so they want us to render the scene. Okay, so that adds a nice little wooden type thing to my object. Okay, all right, so let's hit escape there. Save your Blender file, save as, it's 33. Oops, 33. All right. Now we're going to go to the base. Here's my base. We want to select the material, so let's make the base material, and then we can add some texture to it. And for some reason, we got to go all the way up to find that. Okay, so we have that. New. Let's add Labrador. Isn't it interesting, the names that they call these things? All right, so we're going to say image or movie there. We're going to click on open, X drive, Animation, Resources, Blender Resources, Globe, and now Labrador. Okay, oh, that's an interesting material. The only thing I think we need to change is the projection to sphere. So not much to change on this one, except we want that to be projected as a sphere. Okay, so let's see. I'm hitting F12 to do that. Okay, not bad. All right, so render the scene. So we did that. Save your Blender file. Man, you know what? I just saved it. I'm not going to worry about saving it again. Select the pivot top. I'm going to zoom in so I can get to it. There we go. There's my pivot top. All right, so materials editor, they just want us to put in a new, and they're going to call it pivot black. And then down here on the diffuse color, we're going to turn all these off. There we go. So that turned out black. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pivot bottom. And then what we can do is we've already made this material, so we can just come over here and choose the pivot black, and it automatically does the pivot black. Okay, so render the scene. Alright, so there I can see my black. I will go ahead and save my Blender file now. Save as, it's 35. Okay. So animation. All right, before we add the material to the Earth object, we'll animate the movement around the pivot points. Go to the timeline and make sure you're in frame 1, which I am down here. They're going to tell us later, but we're going to go ahead and set this to 200 because that's how long our frames are. So at frame 1, they want us to go ahead and insert. Let's have it escape is what I did there. They want us to insert, notice how my rotations are all 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to insert a rotation keyframe. I hit I and rotation keyframe. Then they want us to go to our last frame, 200. And what they want us to do is do a Z rotation of 360. So in between frames 1 and 200, we're going to rotate this globe, one full rotation. Don't forget to hit I. And then put your rotation keyframe in there. So if I were to go and hit play, did I forget to add? Maybe I just can't see it because, where's the I key? All right. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's turning, but it's the pivot bottom that's turning. Oh, that's funny, y'all. Okay. All right, so let me go back. I skipped ahead. That was my fault. All right, so just FYI, if you ever want to take out a keyframe, you just hit Alt-I, and it says Delete Keyframe. And we are going to go over here to 200, and we're going to do Alt-I and Delete Keyframe. Oops. Alt-I and Delete Keyframe. All right, how about let's try the Earth this time? Earth is good. Earth is good. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. I, make sure we're on frame 1. I, rotation, keyframe, there we go. Go to the last one, Z rotation, 360. All right, I, rotation. All right, now let's see if the Earth moves. Oh, look, it moves. Yeah, it pays to select the right object. Even teachers make mistakes, right? Okay, so we're going to parent this. It says first select the Earth object that is selected. Hold down your Shift key, and then we're going to select the pivot top. Whoops. Hold down Shift. There we go. And select the pivot top, then the pivot bottom, and the very last thing we're going to do is the arm. Okay, then we're going to hit Control P. We're going to say parent it to the object. So whatever we do the arm object, whether we scale it, move it, rotate it, it's going to move the whole entire thing. Okay, so we're going to go to front view, which we already are in, but if you need to, you would hit 1. All right, now select the arm object. Press the rotate key, hold down the control key and rotate the arm object 20 degrees. What I have found is that if I hit R and then on my number keypad I say 20, it will automatically do it for me. And you can see up here in the Y rotation, it changed it by 20 degrees. Okay, so that's how I do it. Okay, so we are going to use our blue widget arrow to move that back down to our base. Okay, so just kind of like that. All right. So the reason that we created the animation first and now we rotated it is because now when we press play, we won't have that problem. We we animated it on the true z-axis before we rotated it. It just makes things a whole lot easier. All right, so now we're going to add some more materials to our earth. This is kind of really cool how they do it. What we're going to do is we're going to add like a bumpy texture to the earth. And the way that we do that is we first make a material, and we're going to call it globe bump. Bump. Not glove. Globe. That would probably be a good thing. All right, now let's go and make that texture. Let's scroll all the way up, and then let's make a new texture and call that bump. All right, let's go to image, and then let's go to open, X drive, animation, resources, globe, and I believe it's earth bump. Okay, yep, it kind of looks like that. A bump map, they just talk about what it's going to kind of give a relief effect. In the mapping panel, projection to sphere. Okay, so right here we want a projection of sphere. On the influence panel, so that's down a little bit farther, so influence, we want to uncheck color. We want to do normal under geometry, and we want that value to be 8.389. 8.389. Did that change it? Okay. Render the scene. Let's see what it looks like. All right, so we can't see much because it looks like we're looking at most of the ocean, and that's what it talks about. But if I change this to like frame 70 and re-render it, F12, now you can kind of see how it kind of looks bumpy. It's kind of cool, isn't it? All right, so let's see. Here's more of a relief. So they want us to save it. So we are on page 43. Save as. Wow, that was like 8 pages. 43. All right, we'll now add another texture, the earth with the colored areas. Go to the texture editor. Okay, so we're just going to go back to our texture editor. And we're going to choose another channel, and we're going to have new, and they want us to call it the earth map. Okay, so now this is going to be another image or movie. I bet you can guess what we're going to do. X drive, animation, resources, Blender, globe, and now we want the earth map. Okay, so there's your earth map. All right, let's see. Okay, the only thing that we're changing here is the projection is going to be also sphere. All right, so we're going to render this scene, and we're going to see what it looks like. F12. Oh, wow, that looks good. Looks really good. All right, the earth object is now rendered with both the bump. Okay, so save your Blender file. All right, we're on page 45. There's lots of saves in here. For as often as it tells you to save, kids sure do lose work. Have to start over, Miss Anglade. All right, scroll down to the output panel. Okay, we're almost finished, y'all. So we're going to get finished with this in two videos. Scroll down to the output panel. Okay, so we've done this before. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to the output panel. Where are you, output panel? There it is. Okay, so we don't want to be on the temporary. Let's do X drive, animation. I think mine's here. So find your X drive folder. All right, so I'm going to call it Englade Globe. Now remember, this is your rendered video where it's going to be saved. All right. So our output. Our output, we want it to be an MPEG, and they kind of changed this year. We used to be able to just change encoding to MPEG-4, but some of the newer video players are not liking that very well. So now we have to change this to AVI, and over here in the codec, we're going to change that to the MPEG-4, and it's called DIVX or something like that. Okay, so I found that if you do that little workaround, it will correct itself. So they only want us to do this at 25%. All right, and we're going to click the animation button. Where's my animation button? There it goes. All right, so I'm going to wait until this is finished rendering. It goes pretty fast. We're waiting for this to say frame 200. Because I want to show you where to find this video once it is finished. So many times kids will turn in a project on Google Classroom and their video won't play because they haven't checked their video to make sure that it is rendered correctly. Okay, so you can also watch the timeline down here too. It's kind of showing you how fast it's going, but you can see it's going pretty fast. Whenever you turn that percentage down, it's only rendering a fourth of that size. And so we're waiting for it to get to frame 200. You can kind of see it spinning. That's really cool. I like that a lot. All right, so once it reaches frame 200, I'm going to save this for the final time. All right, so File, Save As. That's going to be 48, right? 48. All right, and then we're going to escape out of that to get back. Here's where you find, can I move that down? There we go. Okay, so here's where you find, you go to your File Explorer, you go to X Drive. This is where we've been saving it, right? X Drive, my animation, 2, and then I'm going to go to My File. And then the easiest way to find it, if you can't find it right away, is click on Date Modified and find the latest one. So there's my Blender file. Here's my AVI file. Let's see if it plays correctly, because if it doesn't, we need to go back and re-render it. Let me move that down in here so you can see it. Ooh, ah. All right, so yes, that looks great. All right, so yes, that's exactly what I want. All right, so go turn in your Blender file and your AVI file on Google Classroom if you're doing this for my class. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.